Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The Federal Communications Commission has voted in favor of historic rules to preserve a free and open Internet. After a record 4 million public comments, the FCC approved rules to prevent corporate Internet service providers from blocking access to websites, slowing down content, or providing paid fast lanes for Internet service. This is FCC Chair Tom Wheeler.
This is no more a plan to regulate the Internet than the First Amendment is a plan to regulate free speech. They both stand for the same concept: openness, expression, and an absence of gatekeepers telling people what they can do, where they can go, and what they can think. The action that we take today is about the protection of Internet openness.
We'll speak with Professor Tim Wu, who coined the term net neutrality, after headlines. Congress appears set to avert a partial shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security just hours before the agency runs out of money. Republicans have repeatedly sought to tie the funding to a reversal of President Obama's executive actions on immigration. But House Republicans appear poised to back a clean stopgap measure to fund the agency for another 3 weeks, postponing the battle. More information has emerged about the British man nicknamed Jihadi John, who has appeared in Islamic State beheading videos. Mohammed Emwazi is a 26-year-old born in Kuwait who moved to Britain as a child and studied computer science at the University of Westminster. The British group Cage said he faced at least 4 years of harassment, detention, deportations, threats, and attempts to recruit him by security agencies, which prevented him from leading a normal life. Emwazi approached Cage in 2009 after he was detained and interrogated by the British intelligence agency MI5 on what he called a safari vacation in Tanzania. In 2010, after Emwazi was barred from returning to Kuwait, he wrote, quote, "I had a job waiting for me and marriage to get started, but now I feel like a prisoner, only not in a cage, in London," unquote. In 2013, a week after he was barred from Kuwait for a third time, Emwazi left home and ended up in Syria. At a news conference, Cage research director Asim Qureshi spoke about his recollections of Emwazi and compared his case to another British man, Michael Adebolojo, who hacked a soldier to death in London in 2013.
Sorry, it's quite hard because he's such a... I'm really sorry. I didn't expect... he was such a beautiful young man, really. You know, it's hard to imagine the trajectory, but it's not a trajectory that's unfamiliar for us. We've seen Michael Adebolojo, once again somebody that I met, you know, who came to me for help, looking to change the situation in the system. When are we going to finally learn that when we treat people as if they're outsiders, they will inevitably feel like outsiders and they will look for belonging elsewhere?
That's Cage research director Asim Qureshi speaking in London. The United Nations has reported credible and reliable accounts of torture at U.S. military facilities in Afghanistan, which took place in 2013. The torture was reported by prisoners at 2 U.S. facilities north and west of the capital, Kabul. The UN also detailed the ongoing torture of prisoners by the U.S.-backed Afghan government. There's a new development in the case of a U.S. soldier who went AWOL in 2007 and sought asylum in Germany because he opposed the war in Iraq. The Luxembourg-based European Court of Justice ruled that to obtain asylum, Andrei Shepard would need to show he would have been involved in war crimes if he had followed orders to deploy to Iraq. Shepard spoke on Thursday.
What happens when you have a soldier such as myself who isn't a conscientious objector from the perspective that I want to reject every single war, because of course defensive wars I find to be okay. You have to defend yourself, of course. But Iraq wasn't one of those. They didn't help the Iraqi people at all. They certainly didn't help the American people at all. And all we have is senseless death and destruction and of course the rise of ISIS. So why would I want to take part in that?
The final decision in Andrei Shepard's case will be made by a German court. In the U.S., Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker has compared militants from the self-proclaimed Islamic State to pro-union labor protesters in Wisconsin. Thousands of protesters have flooded the Capitol over an anti-union right-to-work bill passed by the state Senate this week. We'll have more on Wisconsin later in the broadcast. In Argentina, a judge has rejected a late prosecutor's allegations Argentine President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner helped cover up Iran's role in the 1994 bombing of a Jewish center that killed 85 people. The prosecutor, Alberto Nisman, was found dead a day before he was due to testify on his findings. But Judge Daniel Rifecas ruled there was no evidence to support Nisman's claims. The Obama administration sending 2 top diplomats to the annual gathering of the powerful pro-Israel group AIPAC. The conference opens Sunday, just 2 days before Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to address Congress in a bid to undermine attempts at a nuclear deal with Iran that President Obama supports. White House National Security Advisor Susan Rice, who has called Netanyahu's visit destructive, will address the AIPAC summit this weekend, along with U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Samantha. And 38 agencies have condemned the lack of progress rebuilding Gaza 6 months after the end of a devastating Israeli assault. The groups say reconstruction of tens of thousands of destroyed homes, schools and hospitals has been woefully slow, with 100,000 Palestinians still displaced. The agencies called on Israel to lift its blockade, which has barred needed construction materials from entering. Oxfam says it'll take over 100 years to rebuild Gaza if the Israeli blockade remains. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I am Amy Goodman.
And I'm Juan Gonzalez. Welcome to all our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.